The first thing I want to say is I don't want to make it out to be all bad. I'm Sam Sinatra. I'm 18 years old. I'm from Schaumburg, Illinois, and I like to smoke pot. When did I start? I was 12 years old. I was 12 years old. I was in 7th grade. It really gave me this opportunity to, as a 12-year-old, be a 12-year-old. As weird as that sounds. And you'd say, well, when I was a 12-year-old, I know a lot of kids that play with like toys or play outside. I still did all those things, but I was high. I'm right now enrolled in a speech class and a geology class. Geology class is pretty cool. Don't get me wrong. It's a cool science, but sometimes you kind of realize, fuck, I've been staring at rocks for hours, So let's say I smoke before that, I smoke a joint on the way there, rip a bong before I drive there or something. It suddenly becomes that much more interesting. And I'm not like sitting there like spaced out, like, oh, I don't know what the hell is going on, or, and that's never how it is. I'm much more engaged in what I'm doing. And do I need it? I wouldn't say that I ever need it. I go to work 5 days a week. I go to school 4 days a week. There are days that go by where I don't smoke. But I choose to smoke, and I choose to smoke quite a bit. Basically grew up, normal suburban kid, but I experienced abuse from a young age. And I also experienced a divorce. I experienced really watching my parents as a whole. It was almost like I never saw love happen in real life from my own perspective. Usually, you get to see it in the Disney movies and stuff, but you don't get to see that in real life with that's what I didn't get to see with my parents. So really, when I really had a lot of negative thoughts. I had really a lot of, dealt with clinical depression and all this kind of stuff. So that was already boiling up by the time I was 12 years old. I was in 7th grade. My father was an alcoholic, and one of my biggest inner battles in my life that I'd wake up in a cold sweat is realizing that I don't want to be like this person. He used to beat the shit out of me and my siblings, really bad. I watched him beat up my mom a lot. I can remember one night, I was laying in bed, I was in 5th grade, and I could hear my mom screaming, "You're choking me." So I get up, and I get out of the room, and I run around the hallway, because there's my room, and it's just a quick little hallway you round about into my mom and dad's room. I remember him turning around, and I was frozen in the door. I can just remember him looking right at me, and he was sober. That was the worst part about this, was he looked at me and said, "Get the fuck out of here." But he screamed it. And it took nothing more to send me crying, running back to my room, and having to lay in my bed and listen to him continue to harm my mom. And that happened multiple times. He would come home drunk a lot, because my dad also played in bands, come home drunk, park on the lawn, and come in and pull everyone out of bed, and there'd be like an episode. I remember just asking my dad, why can't you quit drinking for your kids? Don't you love your kids too? I remember him looking me dead in the eye and going, I can't quit for my kids because the love isn't as strong. I will never forget that. And then the next morning, he got up for work, made his coffee, and then he acted like nothing happened. Yeah, pot really helps me also blot out memories like that, because those things, those horrible times and things like that, they stay in your head. And they come out at the worst times. They come out when you're alone. And they can come out when you're in a crowded room. So what's really cool about pot is like a shield. And the shield stays after the high goes away too, because then you realize that the shield was there kind of all along. If you really want to live a balanced life, there has to be something else than just smoking pot, obviously. It wouldn't be healthy to just let that single activity absorb your whole entire life. But basically the biggest other thing that I use to outlet all these inner things that I deal with is, it's where I find the void. It's powerlifting. I work at Charter Fitness. It's my gym. I was a member here for 3 years before I actually became an employee here, it's one of my passions. It's just what I go to, and it's where my heart kind of goes. I love it. I'm really into a specific kind of lifting. I'm not into the whole like pump it up and go to the beach and flex until your face is red. I'm really into powerlifting. Powerlifting is more of a sport. It's where you try and put out your greatest amount of weight for one rep in the squat, the back squat, the barbell bench press, and the deadlift. And you total the number of those three lifts, and you get what's called a total, and that's what powerlifting essentially is getting the best total you can. There's this thing that's kind of talked about that I've really liked called the void. You can't think of anything. Like how even when you're not doing anything or saying anything or thinking anything in particular, you still have a voice going in your head. You still have, this is going on, and life over here, and your job here, and school here, and figuring out your dreams here. There's nothing. It's a void. It's a lack of anything, and it's the most freeing thing. There's nothing else in the world that can accomplish that for me like how lifting weights does like that. It's going into that void, proving that I have strength, proving that I have the control of my own body to improve myself, performance-wise too, that I can be strong enough to protect myself, to dictate what I do in my own life, physically as well as mentally, because it takes just as much mental power as it does physical power for me to push myself to do what I've been doing. I would tell anyone, you don't have to be a certain type of person to use either lifting or pot. Coming from myself and how it helps me, I'd like to show other people how these two things can work together, and these two things can help anyone. Not just me, or not just a typical bro that's lifting or a typical stoner that's ripping a bong. It could help anyone.